Next little bit we're going to talk about here, folks, is Aiden Hale. I'm sure you all remember who Aiden Hale is. Aiden Hale is the Nashville shooter who went to a school, the Covenant School in Green Hills, Nashville, and shot 6 people, 3 children and 3 adults. The big difference here, because that happens all the time in this country, right? Mass shooters, that's nothing new. That's whatever. Happens constantly. Every other week. The big difference with Aiden Hale is that he was a trans person. A trans man, specifically. And because of the fact that Aiden Hale was born a woman and was a trans person, the right wing has never shut up about it. So constantly memes and comments and everything trying to blame mass shooters on trans people. So why is this back in the news? Because this person, Aiden Hale, wrote a manifesto, and the manifesto was not released to the public, specifically because it would be used by right-wing Nazi assholes in order to spread hate and transphobia. Somebody leaked it to Steven Crowder, of all people, and that is exactly what happened. Steven Crowder went through the multiple pages of this manifesto. Aiden Hale had somewhere around 20 different journals of things that have been confiscated by the police. Steven Crowder chose 3 pages of the most incendiary stuff he could find in order to say, see, the motivation was that Aiden Hale hated white people. And from those 3 pages, you can see that Aiden Hale indeed had a problem with white privileged people. It makes perfect sense that Aiden Hale would have problems with white privileged people. I mean, somebody who gets bullied and shit their whole lives for being a trans person, for not being 100% completely straight. Of course it makes sense that they would be a little pissed off. I mean, why do you think that person went and targeted a Christian school in the first place? Now, I'm not going to defend the actions of a mass shooter. I will not do that, but I can say, yes, it makes perfect sense to me why somebody who was brought up in a repressive religious environment would use a school, a religious school, as a target if they were to go on an insane kill crazy rampage. Makes perfect sense to me. So the thing about it, that's why they didn't want to release it, because they didn't want it to become politicized. They didn't want Nazis and fucking MAGA assholes and shit to use it in order to spread hate. And now that 3 pages of the manifesto have been leaked, that's exactly what's going on. That's exactly what happened. Thank you, Steven Crowder, you giant fucking piece of shit. We knew that this was going to happen. That's why it wasn't leaked in the fucking first place. But they've been chopping at the bit for that. Here's a little segment, because the pages that he put online have been taken down, but not before, of course, it hit the news and has been spread around. It's being spread around through memes and stuff everywhere. A little segment of Aiden Hale's manifesto. Kill those kids. A leaked page of the manifesto reads, those crackers. Excuse me, I should probably not say that because it's Twitch. Might get fucked up there, sorry. Those C words going to private fancy schools with those fancy khakis and sports backpacks with their daddies, Mustangs and convertibles. Fuck you little shits. I want to shoot you weak, I think it says weak ass dipshits. With your mop yellow hair, want to kill all you little C words. Bunch of little F slurs there with your white privileges. Fuck you, F slurs. The pages also contain passages like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't, and it's gonna go quick. I hope I have a high death count. Yeah, so as you can see, Aiden Hale was definitely disturbed. Not somebody who should have had access to firearms. I notice how that is not part of the conversation here. I would have been 100% happy with that if they would have taken his firearms away. I would have seen nothing wrong with that whatsoever. The right-wingers don't bring that part up. They don't say, oh, how did this crazy person get guns in the first place? Instead, they're trying to frame it as this trans person went out and started a mass shooting because, you know, the trans ideology is radicalizing people, which is the most ridiculous fucking thing on the face of the goddamn earth. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. Basically, since this happened, I mean, it's been I think it was about 6 months since this happened, right? For some reason, I could have sworn it was 2021, but anyway. See, that's the thing. There's so many mass shootings. It happens so often that you can't even fucking keep track of them anymore. As soon as one happens, then another one happens and you forget all about them. Quick question. Anybody remember the name of the guy in Maine 2 weeks ago who went and shot like fucking 16 people in Maine, and then there was like a big like manhunt for him, and then they found him and it's because he shot himself in the head? Does anybody remember his name? No, you don't remember his name. You know why? Of course you don't fucking remember his name. Because it happens so fucking much. Happens so often. It happens every fucking week. You can't keep track of all the goddamn mass shootings. Yet for some reason, the right wing in this country definitely kept track of this one. Why is that? It's because it was a trans person. And the memes just started flying. So here's one I want to show you guys. Let's go ahead and turn this on here. This is a tweet from I Meme Therefore I Am, Benny Johnson. One thing is very clear: the modern trans movement is radicalizing activists into terrorists. This is the Colorado Springs shooter, non-binary. Denver shooter, trans. Aberdeen shooter, trans. Nashville shooter, trans. Now, first thing you got to tick off is that this is not accurate at all. This is bullshit. This thing we're looking at right here is complete, total bullshit. So, this is the first thing. This guy, this Colorado Springs shooter, this is the guy that in Colorado, I think this was in 2019, yeah. His name is Anderson Lee Aldrich. He's 22. This is the guy that went to the Club Q in Colorado, shot 5 people, 25 other people injured. So this fat dude at the top, he went and killed gay people on purpose. He went to a nightclub where gay people were and targeted them and killed them. This is the guy who his father was an MMA fighter who was also like a porn star who was also like addicted to meth. His father said in an interview, "Oh, I'm glad my son wasn't gay." And it's like, dude, your son just fucking killed 5 people. Oh yeah, well, I'm glad that he wasn't gay. So no. And then he said, okay, his lawyers say that he was non-binary. Bullshit. He's basically trolling. This is from Wikipedia. I want to read a little section of Wikipedia about this dude, this top dude. Aldrich's attorneys have said in court documents that their client identifies as non-binary and uses they-them pronouns, preferring to be addressed as MX Aldrichs. Neighbors allege Aldrichs to have made hateful comments toward LGBTQ community in the past, including frequent usage of homophobic slurs. Aldrichs never mentioned being non-binary prior to the shooting and was referred to with masculine pronouns by family members. Police testify they found rainbow-colored shooting targets in Aldrich's home. Experts in online extremism have voiced the possibility that Aldrich's proclaimed self-identification could be disingenuous, while the Center for Countering Digital Hate has advised using they-them pronouns for Aldrichs, and also acknowledges the suspect's past actions and impact on the LGBT community. Long story short, the guy is lying. He's trolling. He's saying it on purpose so people online, it's like a dog whistle, so that his friends online can be like, see, he's non-binary. It's bullshit. This one here, this person here, the second one, Denver shooting, there were actually 2 people involved. There was Devin Michael Erickson, that's this person here, Devin Michael Erickson. And then another person named Alec McKinney. This is not Alec McKinney. This is Derek Michael Erickson, right? That's his name. And this person is not trans. The other person was trans. Alec McKinney, who was 16 at the time, was trans. This is not Alec McKinney. Okay? This is the other person. This is the non-trans person. Okay, I don't know if this person's gay or whatever. It doesn't say. So, no, they're not even showing, they're showing someone who isn't even trans. Now, the story with this one is that there were 2 shooters and they worked together. And this person here claims that he found out about the shooting and that Alec McKinney, the actual trans person, was the mastermind. And this guy, Devin Michael Erickson, basically said, I feared for my life. And I was afraid that Alec McKinney was going to shoot me if I didn't go along with it. Jury didn't go for that, and they've both been given very lengthy prison sentences where they belong. So, good. They're in jail for doing what they did. Their mass shooting, by the way, only resulted in 1 death and 8 injuries. So as far as mass shootings go, it's small potatoes. And I know that's like very, very jaded of a thing to say, but it's true. It's true in this country where mass shootings happen every fucking week. In a mass shooting when only 1 person dies, it's like it doesn't even hit the news. It doesn't even hit the news, and that's why this story didn't become a national story. Right. Of course, the right-wingers have kept this shit alive because it involved a trans person doing something wrong, and then that's why they keep spreading memes about it, and they make sure everybody will fucking remember it. You don't remember the Buffalo shooter's name, do you? No. You don't remember the guy that went into a church and shot 9 black people. No, you don't remember his name. You don't remember the asshole who went, like, at a country music festival and shot 52 people out of a fucking window. You don't remember his name. No. You know why? Because those people weren't trans, so they don't give a fuck about them. They only care about it when an actual trans person does something wrong. It's bullshit. This person here is the Aberdeen shooting. Her name is Sanucha Mosley. And in this case, it actually seems to be someone who just lost their mind and just started shooting. Basically, this person went to work and kind of just had a mental breakdown and just went nuts and pulled out a gun and started blowing people away. Killed 4 people, injured another 3. Doesn't seem to be any kind of hate motivation behind this one. This one here, they didn't go shoot up a school. Sunicha here. They didn't target anybody for any particular reason. There was no, like, hate against Whitey or any crap like that. Or hate against people who picked on them or whatever. Just seems like they were just at a job and they were like, it started with them like punching and hitting customers and stuff, and then it just escalated, and then she pulled out a gun and shot a bunch of people, is what it seems like. So wasn't a lot of information on that story, and frankly I didn't really give a shit to look it up. So really, so you can kind of see the misinformation that's going here. Not a trans person, not a politically motivated shooting. And this is really the only one, this last one, the Nashville shooter, where it's an actual trans, at least on this meme here. I mean, there was a trans person involved in the second shooting. So that's the thing, is that they spread around these memes like this. But, for the right, it doesn't matter. That's the thing you got to remember about memes, right, and misinformation. The truth does not matter. It doesn't fucking matter. All of these people could just be straight cisgendered people, and it still wouldn't matter. They would still spread the shit around because it's not about the actual truth. It's not about justice. It's about spreading hate. That's what it is. Complete and total fucking bullshit. So here's the thing, folks, right? They're trying to spread all this, trying to claim that, mass shootings are all caused by trans people and stuff. When in real life, the vast, vast majority of mass shootings is because of extremists, i.e. white supremacists. So this is from Reuters, past February 23rd. White supremacists behind over 80% of extremism-related U.S. murders in 2022. Mass shootings in the United States accounted for most extremism-related fatalities last year in a country with over 80% of those murders committed by white supremacists, data released by the Anti-Defamation League, ADL, showed on Thursday. The advocacy group labeled 25 murders in 2022 as extremist-related, with 18 of those committed in whole and part for ideological motives. Here's the other thing, right? Now, I'm not going to read this entire fucking thing. You guys can read this if you want. But the facts remain is that no, trans people are not the ones who are fucking engaging in all the mass shootings. That's bullshit. That's just not true. It's not a thing. I mean, but they're going to spread their hate anyway. Here's another little one that I found. This is from waguns.org. It's a pro-gun forum in Washington. Although this guy is from Kentucky here. Report shooter as trans. Don't use preferred pronouns. Just remember that. They're making fun of people being murdered. They're making fun of death. Trying to spin it around. Here is Ben Shapiro's fucking ridiculous, like, bullshit take on this. Okay? Because, Ben Shapiro, the biggest fucking smartest super brain guy in the world. We got to see what he's got to say. Crowder has done a service in breaking the Nashville Shooters Manifesto. It simply cannot be that every time a mass shooter's manifesto boosts favored media narratives, the manifesto is released, and when it doesn't, as here, it gets buried. Second one. If the shooter had targeted black children based on white supremacy, the manifesto would have leaked immediately, but the shooter targeted the school because of white privilege, so they tried to memory hole the whole incident and retcon the narrative to gun violence. This is immediately followed up by a rebuttal, because this is also a tweet by Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro, do not share the shooter's name, do not share the shooter's evil video, do not share the shooter's evil manifesto. Mass killers desire fame and attention, starve them of it. So why did he post this? See, this tweet here, where he's saying don't spread this stuff, that was something that Shapiro posted in 2018 after the Parkland High shooter. That was a shooting where a 20-year-old kid named Nicholas Cruz, who made anti-black and anti-Muslim slurs, he was a white supremacist, went and shot up a fucking school, killed a bunch of people. This guy had swastikas carved into his gun magazines there. So when a Nazi does it, a Nazi right-wing, insane, MAGA chud piece of shit does it, Ben Shapiro's like, don't show his name. Don't share his manifesto. But when a trans person does it, he's like, oh, we need to, we do them a service by breaking the shooter's manifesto. Such hypocritical fucking bullshit. You can kind of see what I'm talking about here, folks, right? It's purely, like, they don't, like, that's the thing you need to remember about the right wing in this country, is that they don't have integrity. The right wing in this country does not give a shit about the truth. They don't care about integrity. They don't give a fuck about what's right or wrong. Everything they do is for political reasons, so that they can get a one-up on the liberals, so they can pwn the libs or whatever in the country. That's what it's all about. That's what it's always been about. That's why we just saw in the last little segment, where they're celebrating this guy in Panama who's fucking blowing people away, the same way that they celebrated fucking Kyle fucking Rittenhouse, right? The same way they'll celebrate it when guys on their side, when guys who believe in the shit that they believe, go and engage in violence and massacre people. And then when it's fucking the other side, it's like, no, that's wrong, that's bad. Those people, and it's because they can blame it on trans people. Spreads hate and fear. That's what it is. We have an entire segment of our population in this country which is so hell-bent on spreading hate and fear that it's like they've just dehumanized everyone who isn't them. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. How long, folks? How long before they're just like violence in the streets here? If you think something like what's going on in Israel right now, if you think that can't happen here, it can happen. It can definitely happen here. It has happened in the past. We've seen it happen in the past. Lynchings, stuff like that. What was that, Oklahoma? That one incident 100 years ago where like a plane was flying around. There was like this huge like outbreak of violence against all the black people that lived there, and like somewhat like there was a plane dropping bombs and shit. What was that all about? Like, I wish I would have learned about that in school. That was an event that I hadn't even learned about until like this year. I can't even remember what it was called, but it was like this big kind of fucking mass violence against like all the black people in this town in Oklahoma because they were just too successful, and all the white people just basically murdered them and drove them out of town. You don't think that could happen here in the modern day? Of course it fucking can. Of course it can. It can and it will if we don't stop it. If we don't fight against these people, if we don't stand up against these people and stop, stop them from fucking normalizing hate speech and violence. Because that's that's what happens when you normalize hate speech. Violence follows afterwards. That's why it is important to stand up and fight against this shit. When you see it on social media, for example, right? When Elon Musk just turns around and completely ignores it when hate speech gets spread on his platform. Like in Miramar. That's what happened in Miramar. There's a Muslim ethnic group who are like a minority. That there's basically just ethnic cleansing going on there. And it started because of hate speech spread on fucking Twitter. Because assholes were going on Twitter and radicalizing all these people, saying that this one particular Muslim ethnic group was like going out and murdering children and shit. The same kind of thing that you hear in the United States when it comes to trans people. Oh, they're just trying to brainwash your kids and they just want to abuse your kids and all this other crap. Same kind of fucking rhetoric. And it got so bad in Miramar that fucking people were going around just like huge mobs of people burning down houses and stuff. And the police were just sitting there, allowing it to happen. Kind of the same way that in the West Bank, when Jewish settlers will come, steal someone's house, kick them out, steal their house, or they'll burn their house down, something like that, or they'll bulldoze their house. The police will usually be there, and they'll just not do anything about it. They'll just sit there, and they'll only intervene when the Palestinian person tries to defend themselves. Tries to defend themselves or their property. Then the police intervene and they'll arrest them. But they won't stop the fucking violence from the settlers. You don't think that can happen here? Then you're wrong. It can. It can happen here. If we don't do something to stop that, if you don't fight back against these people and prevent them from spreading hate, if you allow their hate to become normalized, the next step is violence. It most definitely will happen in this country. And this is the symptoms of it right here. When somebody like Ben Shapiro can go and use his platform to basically spread anti-trans hate. When somebody like Steven Crowder can, a cop leaked that manifesto. That's where it came from. A fucking cop leaked it. A cop leaked the manifesto to Steven Crowder on purpose so Steven Crowder could go and spread anti-trans hate. That's why. That's what fucking happened. Every single day that goes by, the shit it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's as bad as I've ever seen. There was a time in this country just not that long ago where something like this would have been unthinkable. And somebody for saying shit like that, saying something like Steven Crowder would have said, would have been career ending. That would have been career ending 20 years ago. How far our fucking country has fallen, folks. One little thing I want to talk about. Puzzy, hey! How you doing? Got some comments here from... Is that you, Dorothea? How you doing, Dorothea? Shapiro's a lonesome gremlin. Yes. Lonesome gremlins crave power because powerful people can generally afford to escape accountability. True, true, true. A funny trend among these emotionally underdeveloped psychological nightmare human types is the tendency to feed their demons. They're incapable of noticing the same systemic abuse that comes for people that they don't like will also come for them. And that's exactly right. It can happen to them. One day, that's the other thing. Ben Shapiro's Jewish. So why does he think that the crazy, insane MAGA people are gonna, accept him once they take over and, murder everyone who isn't, a white Christian conservative? No, he's one of the, he's one of the out-group as well. So you think that he's gonna be spared when they purge everybody? No, they're not gonna fucking spare him. It's exactly. That's exactly it. You hit it right on the nail there.
Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.